My mother's face went white as I transferred $5,000 of her birthday party deposit directly into the staff's pockets. Not to pay for the meal. As a tip, leaving her, my sister, and my worthless brother-in-law staring at an $11,000 bill they could not afford. But here is the thing that made the whole restaurant go silent. Here is the moment that changed everything. When my 8-year-old son looked up at me with tears in his eyes and asked if he did something wrong because Grandma said he was not allowed to eat at her party, I picked up that microphone and I made sure every single person in that room heard the truth. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. My heart was pounding like it was trying to escape my chest. Because what I was about to do, you do not come back from. You do not walk into a fancy restaurant, expose your entire family's lies in front of everyone they know, and then just go back to Sunday dinners like nothing happened. But when I looked at my daughter Maya, 6 years old and hungry, watching her grandmother feast on $90 sea bass while telling her she should have eaten at home before coming to a party I was paying $16,000 for, something inside me did not just break. It exploded. The microphone screeched with feedback as I turned it on. Every conversation stopped. Every fork froze midair. My mother's book club friends turned to stare. My sister Chloe's jaw dropped. And David, that parasite who had been living off my money for 5 years while wearing designer suits and ordering $300 bottles of wine, he laughed. He actually laughed. Like this was some cute little performance I was putting on. Like I was the entertainment. He had no idea I was about to destroy him. But before I tell you how it felt to watch my entire family implode in real time, before I describe the look of pure horror on my mother's face when I pulled out the bank records, proving she had been lying to me for 3 years before, I explain why my sister is now divorced and working a minimum wage job while trying to rebuild her entire identity. You need to understand how I got there. You need to see the 34 years of manipulation, exploitation, and abuse that led to this one perfect moment of destruction. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family, if you have ever been the one who pays while everyone else plays, if you have ever watched your children be treated like they do not matter, then stay with me. Like this video. Subscribe to hear more stories like this. And comment below to tell me if I went too far or if I should have done this years ago. Because what happened that night changed everything. Let me take you back to the beginning. I grew up as the responsible daughter. That is what they called me. Responsible Elena. Reliable Elena. Elena, who always figures it out. My sister Chloe was 5 years younger, and from the moment she was born, she was the golden child. I do not mean that in a petty, jealous way. I mean that literally. My mother, Margaret, treated her like she was made of spun gold and fairy dust. Chloe got the pretty dresses while I got the practical ones. Chloe got piano lessons while I got a part-time job at 15 to help with bills. Chloe got to go to college while I went to community college and worked full-time because there was not enough money for both of us. Except there was always money for Chloe. When Chloe wanted to study art history, a degree that cost $40,000 a year at a private liberal arts college, Mom found a way. When I asked about taking a coding boot camp that cost $3,000, Mom said we needed to be realistic about our finances. When Chloe came home every summer and did not work, that was fine because she needed to focus on her studies and enjoy her youth. When I asked for one weekend off from my job at the diner to go to a friend's wedding, Mom reminded me that responsibility means sacrifice. I learned early that love in my family was conditional. It was based on what you could provide, how much you could endure, and how little you could ask for in return. By the time I was 25, I had worked my way up to a project manager position at a mid-sized tech company. I was making decent money. Not rich, but comfortable. Enough to move into my own apartment, enough to start saving. Enough to finally breathe. That lasted exactly 4 months. Chloe had graduated with her art history degree and moved back home. She was not working. She was finding herself and exploring opportunities, which apparently meant sleeping until noon and spending Mom's money at brunch spots that charged $18 for avocado toast. Mom called me on a Thursday evening. Her voice had that tone I had learned to recognize. The tone that meant she needed something, but she was going to frame it like she was doing me a favor by letting me help. "Alina, honey," she said, "I need to talk to you about something important. Your sister is going through a difficult transition period. You remember how hard it was after college. She needs our support right now. I was thinking since you are doing so well with your new job, maybe you could help out with some of Chloe's expenses. Just until she gets on her feet. It would mean so much to me. You have always been so generous." I should have said no. I should have asked why a 22-year-old woman could not get a job at a coffee shop like everyone else. I should have asked why my success meant I was obligated to fund my sister's extended adolescence. But I did not. Because saying no to my mother meant being selfish. It meant being cruel. It meant being ungrateful for everything she had done for me, even though I could not quite remember what those things were. So I said yes. I sent Chloe $500 a month. Then it became $700 because she needed a car payment. Then it became $1,000 because she had credit card debt from her finding herself phase that was apparently very expensive. This went on for 2 years. I met Daniel when I was 27. He was kind and stable and worked as a high school teacher. We got married quickly, maybe too quickly, but I was tired of being alone and he seemed to genuinely care about me. We had Leo when I was 29 and Maya when I was 31. Those early years of motherhood were hard but happy. Daniel and I worked opposite schedules, so we could avoid daycare costs. I was still sending money to Chloe, who had finally gotten a job at an art gallery, but somehow still needed my help because rent in the city was expensive and she had student loans. And did she mention her car broke down? Then Daniel died. A car accident on a Tuesday morning on his way to work. Sudden and stupid and irreversible. I was 33 years old, a widow with 2 small children drowning in grief and logistics and the impossible weight of single parenthood. My mother came to the funeral. She hugged me and cried and told me she was there for me. I believed her. For exactly 3 days, I believed her. Then she called to ask if I was still planning to send Chloe's money that month because Chloe had been counting on it and did not know about Daniel yet, and Mom did not want to stress her out during this difficult time for everyone. I sent the money. I was too numb to fight. 6 months after Daniel died, Chloe called me. She was bubbling with excitement. She had met someone. His name was David, and he was amazing and successful, and they were moving in together. I was happy for her. Genuinely happy. I thought maybe now she would not need my money anymore. Maybe now I could focus on keeping my own life together, on making sure Leo and Maya were okay, on learning how to be a single mother who was barely holding on. But David was not successful. David was a wannabe entrepreneur with a string of failed businesses and a talent for spending other people's money. Within 3 months of them moving in together, Chloe was calling me in tears because David's latest venture had tanked and they could not make rent, and could I please help just this once? Just this once became every month. Then it became emergencies. Their car needed repairs. The apartment had a leak and the landlord wanted them to pay for it. David had a business opportunity that required startup capital, and did I believe in supporting family dreams? My monthly contribution went from $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000. I was hemorrhaging money I did not have, putting it on credit cards, skipping my own bills, but I kept sending it because Chloe needed me, and Mom kept reminding me that family takes care of family. I want to be clear about something. I was not wealthy. I was a project manager at a tech company making $75,000 a year. In some places, that is good money. But I lived in a city where rent was high, childcare was astronomical, even with after-school programs, and I was supporting 4 people on that salary. Me, Leo, Maya, and apparently Chloe and David. The breaking point should have come a dozen times before it actually did. It should have come when Chloe and David got married and I paid for half the wedding because Mom said it was the least I could do since I was the one with the stable job. It should have come when they bought a house and I gave them $10,000 for the down payment and they never mentioned paying me back. It should have come when David started showing up to family dinners in designer clothes while my kids wore hand-me-downs from neighbors. But it did not. Because I was still operating under the belief that if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, proved myself enough, I would finally matter to my mother. I would finally be seen as more than a wallet with legs. Chloe would finally appreciate me. They would finally love me the way I loved them. Then Mom called about her birthday. Her 60th birthday was coming up, and she wanted to celebrate somewhere special. She had always dreamed of having a party at Lucille's, this upscale French restaurant downtown, where the waiting list was 3 months long and the average entree cost $60. She asked if I would be willing to host it. Just family, she said. Intimate. Meaningful. I could invite about 10 people. She would handle the guest list. I knew I could not afford it. I knew it would mean more credit card debt, more sleepless nights trying to figure out how to pay for groceries and Leo's field trip and Maya's dental appointment all in the same month. But this was my mother's 60th birthday. This was my chance to finally do something that would make her see me. Really see me. This was my chance to be the good daughter who gave her mother a magical evening instead of the burden who was never quite enough. I called Lucille's. I booked the private dining room. I put down a $5,000 deposit. I chose a menu that would showcase the best of what they offered. Foie gras to start, fresh oysters, Wagyu beef, Chilean sea bass, a wine list that made my stomach hurt when I looked at the prices. I was estimating the total cost would be around $16,000, a number that made me physically ill, but I told myself it was worth it. This was my mother. This was my chance. The guest list my mother sent me included exactly the people I expected. Chloe and David, of course. David's parents, who I had met twice, and who seemed lovely in that distant, politely disinterested way. A few of Mom's friends from her book club. Mom's sister, Linda, who had always been kind to me. And my children, Leo and Maya. 8 years old and 6 years old, the lights of my life, the only people who loved me without conditions or calculations. I should have known something was wrong when Mom called me 3 days before the party to adjust expectations about the kids. She said it in that light, casual way she had when she wanted to deliver an insult, without seeming like she was insulting anyone. Alina, sweetie, you know how fancy Lucille's is, right? Do you think the kids will be able to behave? Maybe it would be better if they ate before you came. You know, kid food at home. Then they can just sit quietly during the adult dinner. I do not want their table manners to embarrass you. I told her my children had excellent table manners. I told her I was paying for this dinner and my children would eat. She made a small sound in her throat, that little disapproving hum I had heard my whole life, and said, "Okay, honey, if you think that is best." I should have canceled the whole thing right then. But I did not, because I was still hoping, still believing that this time would be different. The night of the party arrived. I spent 2 hours getting ready, picking out a dress that was nice enough to fit in, but not so nice that Mom would make a comment about me trying to outshine Chloe on her mother's special day. I dressed Leo in his best button-down shirt and dress pants. Maya wore a pretty blue dress with white tights. They were nervous because they knew this was important to me. They kept asking if they looked okay, if they would make me proud. I kissed their heads and told them they were perfect. We arrived at Lucille's at 7. The hostess recognized my name and led us to the private dining room. It was beautiful. Warm lighting, elegant table settings, a long polished table that could seat 12. Fresh flowers in crystal vases. The kind of room that appeared in magazines about gracious living and special occasions. Mom was already there holding court with her book club friends. She was wearing a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent and jewelry I had never seen before. She looked radiant and happy, and when she saw me, her smile was genuine. For a moment, I felt like maybe this was going to work out. Maybe tonight she would finally tell me she was proud of me, that she appreciated everything I did, that I mattered. Then Chloe and David arrived. Chloe looked stunning in a designer dress I knew I had indirectly paid for. David strutted in wearing a suit that probably cost $3,000, his hair slicked back, playing the part of successful businessman, even though I knew for a fact he was currently unemployed again. His parents followed behind them, looking uncomfortable in the way people do when they are not sure if they belong somewhere fancy. We all took our seats. I had Leo on one side of me and Maya on the other. We were at one end of the long table. Mom sat at the head, of course, with Chloe and David flanking her like attendants to a queen. The book club friends filled in the middle. David's parents sat near Chloe, looking like they would rather be anywhere else. The server came around with menus. I watched as everyone opened theirs, watched their eyes widen slightly at the prices, watched Mom beam with pleasure at the opulence of it all. Then I noticed something. Leo and Maya did not get menus. I flagged down the server, a young woman with a professional smile. "Excuse me, my children did not receive menus." She glanced at her notes. "I apologize, ma'am, but we were informed that the young guests would not be dining this evening. They are welcome to have water and bread, of course." I felt my face get hot. I looked at my mother. She was studying the wine list with intense concentration, pretending she had not heard. I looked at Chloe, who was whispering something to David and giggling. David was smirking. I kept my voice level. "There has been a mistake. My children will be dining. Please bring them the children's menu." The server looked uncomfortable. "Of course, ma'am. I will check with the manager. Just one moment." She left. Leo tugged on my sleeve. "Mom, are we not supposed to eat?" "No, baby, you are eating." There was just a mix-up. The server returned with Marco, the event manager I had worked with to plan the party. Marco was professional and sympathetic, but firm. "Miss Moore, I apologize for the confusion. When your mother called yesterday to finalize details, she specifically requested that no meals be prepared for the two children. She said they would eat at home before arriving. I assumed you were aware. I turned to look at my mother. She finally looked up from the wine list, her expression surprised and innocent. Oh, Alina, I told you on the phone. Remember, I said it would be easier for everyone if the kids ate at home. This is such a grown-up restaurant. I did not want you to waste your money on food they might not even like. You did not tell me that, Mom. And I am not wasting anything. They are eating. David leaned back in his chair, twirling his wine glass. Actually, Alina, maybe your mom has a point. I mean, chicken fingers are not really on the menu here, you know. He laughed. Maybe it would have been better to get a babysitter for the night. Let the adults enjoy an adult evening. Something inside me cracked. Just a little fracture, a hairline split in the foundation of my patience. But I held it together. I smiled at Marco. Please bring my children the children's menu and take their order. They will be eating tonight. Marco nodded and left. The table fell into an awkward silence. Mom sighed heavily, the sigh of a martyr who was being terribly inconvenienced. Well, I suppose if you insist. The appetizers arrived. Foie gras with fig compote and balsamic reduction for most of the table. Fresh oysters on ice with mignonette sauce for David, who made a big show of slurping them down and declaring them the best he had ever had. The book club friends murmured appreciatively over their food. David's parents picked at theirs, clearly uncomfortable with the richness. Leo and Maya sat with empty plates. The server had not come back yet. I watched as my children stared at the food everyone else was eating. Maya's stomach growled audibly. She looked at me with wide eyes, embarrassed. I squeezed her hand under the table. David finished his last oyster and leaned toward Chloe. Babe, we should order another dozen. These are incredible. Chloe giggled. Should we? Is that too much? Nothing is too much on a night like this, David said loudly. It is a celebration. He gestured at the server. Another dozen oysters for me and the lady. And bring us that bottle of wine. He pointed at something on the wine list. The server's eyebrows went up slightly. The Chateau Margaux. That is $300 a bottle, sir. Perfect, David said. We are celebrating. I felt sick. I knew I was paying for this. Every oyster, every bottle of wine, every bite of foie gras that was not going into my children's mouths was coming out of my wallet. Or more accurately, it was going onto my credit card where it would sit accruing interest while I figured out how to make minimum payments. 20 minutes later, the server finally brought food for Leo and Maya. Simple pasta with butter and parmesan for Leo, chicken tenders with fries for Maya. Normal kid food, the kind they actually liked. They looked at me for permission. I nodded. Eat, babies. They dug in, hungry and grateful. I watched them eat and felt tears prick my eyes. This should not have been so hard. This should not have required a battle. They were children at their grandmother's birthday dinner. They should have been welcomed and fed and fussed over, not treated like inconvenient additions who were somehow ruining the atmosphere. Mom lifted her champagne glass. I want to make a toast. To all of you for being here tonight. To the people who truly matter. To family. Everyone clinked glasses. I noticed she did not look at me when she said it. I noticed Chloe was looking at her phone under the table. I noticed David was already reaching for the $300 bottle of wine that had just arrived. The main courses came. Wagyu beef for most people, Chilean sea bass for Mom, a beautiful duck confit for Chloe. David had ordered the lobster tail and filet mignon combination, the most expensive thing on the menu, at $95. His parents had ordered modestly just the salmon and the chicken. The book club friends exclaimed over their food, taking photos, thanking me for such a generous evening. I ordered the cheapest entree on the menu, a chicken dish that cost $38. I was not hungry anyway. I was too busy watching my children eat their simple meals while everyone else feasted, too busy calculating the cost of every bite, too busy feeling the weight of being taken for granted settle deeper into my bones. Chloe and David were talking loudly about their upcoming vacation to Hawaii. David was going on about the resort they had booked, the ocean view room, the spa treatments Chloe was planning to get. I wondered if they had any idea where the money for that vacation was coming from. I wondered if they cared. Maya finished her chicken tenders and whispered to me, Mommy, I'm still a little hungry. Can I have dessert? Of course, baby. David overheard. More food. He laughed. Wow, these kids can really pack it in. You might want to watch that, Alina. Childhood obesity is a real problem these days. I stared at him. My daughter weighs 45 pounds, soaking wet. She is hungry because she is a growing child who is sitting here for 40 minutes watching everyone else eat while she had nothing. David held up his hands in mock surrender. Hey, I am just saying. No need to get defensive. I was just making a joke. Maybe do not joke about my children. Chloe put her hand on David's arm. Baby, do not tease Alina. She is sensitive about the kids. I am not sensitive. I am their mother. It is my job to defend them. Mom set down her fork with a pointed clink. Alina, please do not ruin the evening by getting emotional. We are all having such a lovely time. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to grab my children and run out of there and never speak to any of these people again. But I did not. Because I was trained to endure. I was trained to smile and nod and swallow my anger and keep the peace no matter what it cost me. The dessert menu came around. David ordered the most expensive thing, a chocolate souffle that took 25 minutes to prepare and cost $32. Chloe ordered the tasting platter, 5 different mini desserts for $40. Mom ordered crème brûlée. The book club friends ordered various things. David's parents quietly declined, saying they were too full. I ordered a simple fruit tart for Leo and Maya to share. They devoured it, smiling and happy despite everything. At least I could give them that. At least they got dessert. As people were finishing up, David leaned back in his chair, patting his stomach. Man, that was incredible. Best meal I have had in months. He looked at me. You really outdid yourself, Alina. This must have cost a fortune. Mom, you are lucky to have such a generous daughter. The way he said it made my skin crawl. Like he was acknowledging my spending while simultaneously mocking me for it. Like I was the fool for paying for everyone to eat while my own kids went hungry for an hour. Mom smiled. Oh, Alina has always been so responsible with money. She knows how to make things work. Chloe piped up. Yeah, Alina is like a miracle worker with budgets. I do not know how you do it, sis. She said it like it was a compliment. Like she was not part of the reason my budget was strangled to death every month. Something in me snapped. Not in a loud, explosive way. In a quiet, cold, final way. Like a door closing. Like a switch flipping. Like waking up from a dream and realizing it was always a nightmare. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. I did not say anything. I just scrolled through my contacts until I found Marco's number. I called him. It rang twice before he answered. Hello, miss. More. Is everything all right? Marco, this is Alina. I need you to come to the private dining room. Bring a microphone and a copy of the event contract. And bring the current itemized bill. This is urgent. There was a pause. Of course, miss. More. I will be right there. I hung up. Everyone at the table was looking at me now. Chloe looked confused. David looked annoyed. Mom looked wary. The book club friends looked curious. David's parents looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Chloe leaned forward. Alina, what is going on? Are you okay? I did not answer. I just sat there, my hands folded in my lap, my heart pounding, my mind crystal clear for the first time in years. I knew what I was about to do. I knew it was going to hurt. I knew it was going to cause a scene. I knew my mother would never forgive me. And I did not care. Because my children had been humiliated tonight. Because I had been used and dismissed and taken for granted for the last time. Because I was done. Marco appeared in the doorway 3 minutes later. He was carrying a leather portfolio, a wireless microphone, and a folder of papers. He looked professional, but his eyes showed concern. He walked over to me and set everything on the table in front of me. Is there anything else you need, miss? More. No thank you, Marco. Just stand by, please. I picked up the microphone. Turned it on. The electronic click echoed through the room. Everyone fell silent. I am sorry to interrupt this lovely evening, I said, my voice amplified and cold as ice, but I have a few urgent announcements that everyone needs to hear. Mom's face went pale. Alina, what are you doing? David laughed nervously. Jesus, Alina. What is this, a wedding toast? You do not need a microphone. I ignored them both. I opened the leather portfolio Marco had brought. Inside was the contract I had signed. I held it up so everyone could see. For those who do not know, I am the person who organized this event. I am the person who booked this room. I am the person who put down a $5,000 deposit. My name is the only name on this contract. Which means I have full authority over who is invited to this dinner and who is responsible for payment. Chloe looked confused. Okay, we know that. What is your point? My point, I said, is that my children, Leo and Maya, were denied food at an event that I am paying for. They were told they would not be dining tonight. They sat here hungry while everyone else ate appetizers and entrees and $300 bottles of wine. They were humiliated. They were made to feel like they did not belong. And when I asked why, I was told that my own mother specifically requested they not be fed. Mom stood up. Alina Moore, you stop this right now. You are embarrassing yourself. No, Mom. I am done being embarrassed. I am done being dismissed. I am done watching my children be treated like second-class citizens at an event I am funding. I turned to Marco. Marco, can you please confirm the current total of tonight's bill? Marco cleared his throat. The current total, including the deposit that has already been transferred to staff gratuity, is $16,300. The table erupted. David's mouth fell open. The book club friends gasped. Chloe looked like she might faint. Mom grabbed the edge of the table for support. David's parents looked horrified. Wait, David said. Wait. You transferred the deposit to gratuity. What the hell does that mean? It means, I said calmly, that the $5,000 deposit I put down is no longer covering part of the bill. I instructed Marco to distribute it as tips to the hardworking staff who prepared this beautiful meal, which means the remaining balance of $11,300 needs to be paid by someone. David turned to Marco. She cannot do that. She cannot just change the terms of the payment. Actually, sir, Marco said, his voice professional but firm, Miss Moore is the contract holder. She has full discretion over how her deposit is used. And as of 20 minutes ago, she authorized the transfer. I had done it while everyone was eating dessert. While David was patting his full stomach and making jokes about my kids. While Mom was basking in the glow of her expensive party. While Chloe was planning her Hawaii vacation on someone else's dime. I had texted Marco with very specific instructions. He had executed them perfectly. So let me be very clear, I said into the microphone. My name is now clear of all debt related to this event. I have paid my share in the form of gratuity to people who actually earned it. The remaining $11,300 is the responsibility of the people who ordered the food, drank the wine, and treated my children like garbage. That would be you, Mom. You, Chloe. And especially you, David. Mom's face was the color of curdled milk. You cannot do this to me. Not on my birthday. Not in front of everyone. I can, Mom. And I am. Because you know what you did tonight. You denied food to your own grandchildren. You sat here in your cream-colored designer dress with your new jewelry, and you looked my babies in the eye and decided they did not deserve to eat. And you know what is really funny? You have been telling me for 3 years that you are broke, that you need my help, that you cannot afford anything. But I did some digging. I pulled out a folded piece of paper from my purse. It was a public records document. I had found it 2 weeks ago, and I had been saving it for the right moment. This moment. This, I said, holding it up, is a property sale record. It shows that you sold Dad's house 3 months ago. The house he left you when he died. The house that was fully paid off. The house that you told me you were keeping because it held too many memories. You sold it for $475,000. Cash sale. The money is sitting in your bank account right now. The room went so silent I could hear people breathing. Mom looked like she had been slapped. Chloe's face crumbled. David's eyes went wide with fury, but not at me. At Mom. You sold the house, David said slowly. You have almost $500,000 and you have been making Alina pay for everything. Mom started to stammer. I needed that money for my retirement. I cannot just give it away. I need security. Security, I said. You have security. You have $475,000. You have Social Security. You have a pension from Dad's company. You have everything you need. But you still made me pay for Chloe's rent. You still made me pay for your birthday party. You still made me pay for everything while you hoarded your money and treated my children like they were unworthy of a meal. This is insane, Mom said. You are being dramatic. You are ruining everything. I am not ruining anything. I am telling the truth. I looked at David and Chloe. And you too. You have been taking my money for 5 years. 5 years of rent, car payments, credit card bills, down payments, vacations. Do you have any idea how much I have given you? Over $100,000. Money I did not have. Money I borrowed. Money I took from my children's future so you could play house and pretend to be successful. We did not ask you to do that, Chloe whispered. Yes, you did. Every time you called crying. Every time David's business failed. Every time you said you did not know how you would make it without me. You asked. And I gave. Because I thought that was what family did. I thought if I just gave enough, you would finally see me. You would finally love me the way I loved you. I felt tears streaming down my face, but I did not stop. I turned to David. And you. You sat here tonight and made jokes about my children. You ordered the most expensive wine. You added lobster to your steak. You acted like you were royalty at a feast you did not pay for. You are a 42-year-old man with no job, no prospects, and no shame. You live off my sister who lives off my mother who lives off me. You are a parasite. And I am done being your host. David jumped to his feet. Watch your mouth, you crazy bitch. Marco stepped forward immediately. Sir, I am going to have to ask you to lower your voice and return to your seat. Or I will call security. David's parents stood up, their faces red with embarrassment. We should go, David's mother said quietly. This is not our business. They started to leave, but I stopped them. Actually, it is your business. Your son has been eating food I paid for while insulting my children. Your son has been living off money I do not have while wearing $3,000 suits. Maybe you should know the truth about who he really is. David's father looked at his son with an expression of pure disgust. We will talk about this later, David. They walked out, their backs rigid with shame. The book club friends were gathering their purses, mumbling excuses about needing to get home. They could not get out fast enough. Within 2 minutes, it was just family left at the table. Me, Leo, Maya, Mom, Chloe, and David. And Marco standing by the door like a professional witness to a murder. Chloe was crying. Not the pretty, delicate crying she did when she wanted sympathy. Real ugly crying. She looked at David, then at Mom, then at me. I did not know, she said. I did not know about the house. I did not know Mom was lying. I did not know. But you knew I was paying for your life, I said quietly. You knew every time you asked me for money that I was struggling. You knew I was a widow with 2 kids trying to make ends meet. And you asked anyway. Again and again and again. I am sorry, Chloe sobbed. I am so sorry, Alina. I never meant to hurt you. I got used to it. I got used to you fixing everything. That is the problem, I said. Everyone got used to me. Mom got used to me being the responsible one. You got used to me being the bank. David got used to me being the fool. And I got used to being treated like I did not matter. I turned to Marco. Please prepare the final bill for the remaining guests. And please call a taxi for me and my children. We are leaving. Wait, David said. You cannot just leave us with this bill. We do not have $11,000. Then you should not have ordered $11,000 worth of food and wine. You are adults. Figure it out. Maybe Mom can dip into her retirement fund. I hate you, Mom hissed. You are not my daughter anymore. You are a selfish, cruel, heartless woman. I looked at her. Really took a good look at her. The woman who gave birth to me, who was supposed to protect me, who was supposed to love me unconditionally. All I saw was a stranger who had been using me for decades. I am the selfish one. I paid for your life, Mom. I paid for Chloe's life. I paid for everything while you lied about being broke. I brought my children to your birthday party so they could spend time with their grandmother, and you treated them like they were garbage. And I am the selfish one. I picked up my purse, took Leo's hand, took Maya's hand. They were quiet, their eyes wide, but they trusted me. They knew Mommy was finally doing something right. Do not ever call me again, I said. Do not text me. Do not show up at my house. Do not ask me for money. Do not pretend you care about me or my children. You are not my mother anymore. You are just someone I used to know. I walked toward the door. Marco held it open for us. As I passed him, I whispered, "Thank you." He nodded. Behind me, I could hear chaos erupting. David was yelling about the bill. Mom was crying angry tears. Chloe was caught between them, trying to make sense of her imploding world. But the strangest thing happened as I walked through that restaurant with my children. I felt light. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like I could breathe. The weight that had been crushing me for 34 years was gone. I had walked away from it, left it sitting at a table with an unpaid bill and shattered illusions. We got into the taxi. Maya climbed into my lap. Leo leaned against my shoulder. "Where are we going, Mom?" he asked. "Pizza," I said. We are going to get pizza. The good place with the video games. Both kids cheered. The taxi driver smiled at us in the rearview mirror. Sounds like a good night. It was. We went to a loud, bright pizza place that was the complete opposite of Lucille's. We got a large pepperoni pizza and played skee ball and laughed. We were free. My phone rang 27 times that night. Mom called 15 times. Chloe called 12 times. I blocked both numbers. I also blocked David even though he had not called just to be safe. The next morning I woke up to an email from Marco. He thanked me for my patience during what he called a difficult situation. He also informed me that the remaining balance had been settled. David had paid it with a credit card that Marco suspected was probably maxed out now. There was a note at the bottom. He wrote that in his 12 years of managing events at Lucille's, he had never seen anyone stand up for themselves the way I did. He said I was brave. He said my children were lucky to have me. I cried reading that email. Not sad tears. Relief tears. 2 days later, Chloe showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the peephole and did not open the door. She stood there for 20 minutes, knocking, calling my name, apologizing to the door. Eventually, she left a note. It said she was leaving David. It said she was sorry. It said she wanted to make things right. It said she understood if I never forgave her, but she needed me to know that she finally saw what I had been trying to tell her for years. I read the note 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. I was not ready to forgive her yet. Maybe I never would be. But at least she finally understood. Mom never apologized. Instead, she sent a long text message from Chloe's phone since I had blocked hers. The text called me ungrateful, cruel, vindictive, and a terrible daughter. It said I had humiliated her in front of her friends. It said I had ruined the best birthday she could have had. It said she never wanted to see me again, which was fine with me because the feeling was mutual. The story got out somehow. One of the book club friends must have talked. Within a week, there was an article in the local newspaper. The headline was Family Feud at Upscale Restaurant Ends with Shocking Bill Dispute. It did not mention names, but everyone in our circle knew. Mom and David were humiliated. Their reputation in the community was destroyed. People whispered when they saw them. Some of Mom's friends stopped calling her. David lost a business opportunity because the potential partner had heard what happened and decided he did not want to work with someone so entitled. I felt no guilt. Not even a little. They had made their choices. They had treated me and my children with contempt while living off my generosity. The consequences were theirs to bear. 3 months after that night at Lucille's, Chloe called from a new number I had not blocked yet. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Her voice was different. Smaller. Humbler. Alina, please do not hang up. I just want you to know that I filed for divorce. I got a job. I am seeing a therapist. I am trying to understand how I became the person I was. I am not asking for forgiveness. I am not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I am trying to change. I did not say anything for a long time. Then I said okay. That was all. Just okay. But it was enough. She thanked me and hung up. I thought about that conversation for weeks. I thought about whether Chloe deserved a second chance. I thought about whether I was obligated to give it to her. I thought about what it means to be a sister when your sister has hurt you so deeply you are not sure the relationship can be salvaged. I still do not have all the answers. What I do know is this. I am done sacrificing myself for people who do not appreciate it. I am done being the responsible one who never gets to be tired, to be angry, to say no. I am done being an ATM with feelings. I am done teaching my children that love means letting people hurt you. 6 months after the dinner, Chloe and I met for coffee. Not at a fancy place. At a regular coffee shop with sticky tables and weak coffee. She looked different. She had cut her hair. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, not designer clothes. She looked real in a way she never had before. We talked for an hour. She told me about therapy, about facing the ways Mom had twisted her understanding of relationships, about realizing she had never actually grown up. She told me she was working as an assistant at a gallery, making barely any money but learning to live within her means. She told me she was angry at Mom for lying about the house, for using both of us, for pitting us against each other our whole lives. I told her I was still hurt. That trust was not something you could just rebuild with good intentions. That I needed to protect my kids and myself first. That I was not sure we would ever be close the way sisters should be. She nodded, cried a little, said she understood, said she would wait as long as it took. said she would prove herself through actions, not words. I do not know how this story ends yet. I do not know if Chloe and I will ever fully repair our relationship. I do not know if I made the right choice by cutting off my mother completely. What I do know is that my children are happy. They do not ask about grandma anymore. They do not miss the tension and the humiliation. They feel safe. And me, I am still climbing out of debt. The credit cards I maxed out supporting everyone else are being paid down slowly. It will take years. But every payment I make is for me and my kids. Not for people who do not appreciate it. Not for people who think I am just a wallet. For us, I am learning to say no. I am learning that boundaries are not selfish. I am learning that love should not cost everything you have. I am learning that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who refuse to see your worth. That night at Lucille's, when I picked up that microphone and told the truth, I was terrified. I was shaking. I thought I might throw up. But I did it anyway. Because my children were watching. Because they needed to see that you do not have to accept being treated like you do not matter. Because they needed to learn that their mother was strong enough to protect them even from family. I think about that night a lot. Not with regret. With pride. I stood up. I fought back. I chose myself and my children over the desperate need to be loved by people who were incapable of loving me properly. And that decision, as painful and messy as it was, saved my life. If you are reading this and you see yourself in my story, if you are the one always giving while everyone else takes, if you are the one keeping the peace while your own heart breaks, I want you to know something. You are worth more than what you provide. You are worth more than your usefulness. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to choose yourself. It will hurt. It will be hard. People will call you selfish. They will tell you that you are ruining everything. They will try to make you feel guilty for finally standing up for yourself. But on the other side of that pain is freedom. On the other side is peace. On the other side is a life where you are valued for who you are, not what you can give. So here is what I want to ask you. Have you ever had to make a choice like this? Have you ever had to walk away from people you loved because they refused to treat you with basic respect? What would you have done in my situation? Would you have stayed and kept trying? Or would you have picked up that microphone too? Leave a comment and tell me your story. Let me know if I went too far or if I should have done this years ago. And if this story meant something to you, if it made you think about your own relationships and your own worth, hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about finding your strength and reclaiming your life. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because we all deserve to be treated like we matter. Every single one of us. And sometimes the only way to get that treatment is to stop accepting anything less. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, you are enough. You have always been enough. Do not let anyone convince you otherwise.